Alright guys, TJ the Guildmaster of Swim Gamers Guild. Doing something a little bit different today. Today we are going to go over the movement orders for Team Yankee. Just some like different tips and tricks and how they actually work. So a couple things that we'll go over is just some of the movement orders. Some are based on your courage, some are based on your skill rating. Alright, so we're going over to Blitz Order, and this is directly out of the book. The unit leader can issue a Blitz Order and the movement step before its unit moves. If it does this, roll a dice. If the score is greater than or equal to their score rating, the unit leader and any teams that are in command may immediately move up to 4 inches before making a normal tactical move. If the team moves using a blitz but does not move any further, it is considered to have not to have moved and can shoot at its halted rate of fire. So what makes that kind of important is for weapons that have rate of fire 0 or rate of fire 1. Otherwise, teams from the unit can only move at tactical speed and automatically suffer the +1 hit penalty as if they had moved out of command. Now commands will be different. It'll be 6 to 8 inches. But that's how the Blitz skill works. You use a skill rating for that. So we'll go on to our example in the video. Now that we've gone over what a Blitz order moves, we'll show an example. In this case, you have a set of tanks behind the hill here. Okay? You want to get them on top of the hill to fire at enemies out there somewhere. So now for Americans, it's kind of weird because I'll do it 2 shots regardless. But let's say these are another faction. So what you do, your unit leader, in this case is him. He has 50 cal in his barrel. He would roll a, you just go ahead and roll a skill check. Now for these guys, it's a 4. So in this case, I rolled 2. I can still move up there, but I would take a +1 penalty for shooting because technically you're considered out of command. We'll say they pass that order, and you would simply, everyone within his command of 6, they can move up to 4 inches. So we'll do that. So now you'd be able to fire your tanks. Now you say if you're a unit that you fire, your movement rate of fire is 1. Now you don't count as moving, so you won't take any penalties. This is really big for like people with like rockets, like tows and stuff like that have the guided keyword. So what ends up happening is your movement rate of fire is 0. You don't count as moving, so now you can go up there and shoot. All right. That's really how Blitz works. Blitz is good like if you're hiding in trees, you want to get to the front of the trees to fire, you want to get up over hills to fire, or you're at an angle that you need a little bit extra to get around to shoot. You can go ahead and do a Blitz. All right. So we'll move on to one of the next ones, which is shoot and scoot. Okay, the next word is going to be shoot and scoot. It's a skill check. A unit leader that did not move in the movement step can issue a shoot and scoot order in the assault step instead of assaulting. If it does, this roll a dice. If the score is greater than or equal to the unit leader's skill ranking, the leader and any teams that are in command that did not move in the movement step may immediately move up to 4 inches. Otherwise, the unit remains where it is. I'll go over what this means whenever I have the video example, but this is a pretty underutilized skill a lot of times for ambushing units or guys that are just in a bad spot, like you have them out in the open somewhere. But we'll go over that in the video. So you want to use this a lot of times in conjunction with like ambushing units, or if you've are in a position you fired and then you're worried about counterfire coming back at you, like a squish your unit, you reverse out. So in this case, we're going to say we sprung our ambushers. Bloop. So we've sprung our 4 M60s up here. They've fired, hopefully killed whatever, or really crippled whatever I shot at. Well, now it goes into the assault phase of the game, and I want to shoot and scoot them. Now that's going to be underneath the skill. And again, since we're using M60s, their skill is going to be a 4. So you'd roll a dice. Up, in this case I failed. We'll just say we didn't, just for simplicity's sakes. We passed our save. Everyone within 6, which is everybody, will reverse back up to 4 inches. So actually it would be kind of on a landward slope of the hill. So now all of a sudden, any fire coming back in at us, we're behind the hill, we're covered. A lot of times people use it in trees, on hills, but yeah, a lot of times with ambushing in it, you don't count as moving, you just blam. You're plopped in right there, you can fire and reverse back. It kind of helps a little bit. Or if you were starting in a tree line or defensive position and you're worried about getting shot at, you're just like, oh crap, we're about to get blasted. So we didn't move. We're not going to assault anybody. Let's try to shoot and scoot back. And if you fail the order, you just stay stationary. Like, it's one of them kind of like clutch orders to where you're worried about return fire coming back. And then next turn, say your rate of fire is affected by movement. Guess what? How we just went over blitz, you can blitz back up and shoot. Granted, you'll be there for the counter fire, but it's a good, like, moving back and forth on a unit. So I hope that kind of... Now, oh, one more thing. If you're going to be using shoot and scoot, and say you do pass your order, you still have to do a cross check. So if you would fail a cross check, that guy would stay... One guy would stay stationary, the rest would go back. So it's kind of dangerous, but if you're using like tanks, which have a cross of 2, it's worth it. Alright, so that is basically shoot and scoot. Now we're going to go ahead and go over a couple more orders here, and we'll be right back. So this next one's follow me. Instead of using a skill, you use courage. It's probably one of the few examples of using courage. The movement step after the unit has finished moving. A unit leader can issue a follow me order. If it does this, the unit leader moves directly forward up to additional 4 inches and rolls a dice. If the score is greater than or equal to the unit leader's courage rating, teams in the unit that are in command may immediately move directly forward up 4 inches, remaining in command. Otherwise, the rest of the unit remains where it is. Whether they succeed or not, all teams of the unit that are in command cannot shoot this turn. So this is good for you just trying to get more speed across the board, or maybe get into cover, stuff like that. Just be aware, though, if you do this follow me into trees or difficult terrain, you still do a cross check. And I'll go over that in the example. Next, we're going to go over follow me. So this order, instead of using skills like the other ones, we're going to use our courage. That's basically like how willing you are to basically charge forward with your commander. So again, you have to make sure you're within 6 of your commander. Let me go ahead and I'll turn it over here. You have to make sure you're within 6 of your commander, which everybody is. In this case, we're going to go ahead, we're going to move our tactical. We're going to move 10. So they're just getting up there. Now say we want to try to get up over that hill. We can do a follow me order. So, or correction, we can do a, yeah, it's follow me order. So again, these guys' courage is 4. Okay, for some reason I can't roll any skills. In this case, they would stay stationary. They wouldn't move, and they couldn't shoot. If you fail this order, you won't be able to shoot. And if you succeed, you won't be able to shoot either. So, say we passed it, you could move an additional 4 inches. And you could use this to try to get somewhere. Now, reading the rules, you could basically do I would say you'd be able to do a terrain dash and then do a follow me to get extra movement onto something, but you won't be able to shoot. I don't use this order too often. Normally I'm just moving tactical or terrain dash. But I guess in a moment where You need an extra 4 inches maybe to get into a crop field or get into like a tree line, or maybe just get behind the line of sight blocking terrain. You could probably do this, especially if you don't have any good shots at anything. Just try to get aboard faster. You could definitely do this one. Um, Again, that's that one. We only have a few more orders to go over. The next one we'll be going over is crossing. All right, so we'll read it back. So we're going to go over crosshair order. It's really not even, you don't even need really a skill check for it. So crosshair, the unit leader can issue a crosshair order and the movement step before the unit moves. If it does this, any teams, including the unit leader from the unit, rolling to cross difficult terrain within 6 inches of where the unit leader crosses, improves their chance of successfully reducing their roll by 1. Teams using the order cannot assault shoot this turn. So basically what this allows you to do is if you're trying to cross through trees, stuff like that. And I'll go over more of that in the example. I also am using a stream for the example. Okay guys, for the next one it's going to be crosshair. This is mostly if you're trying to get through woods, water features. In this case, we're going to say it's a creek here, even though it looks like a lake. Well, these guys are amphibious, so there you go. So, crosshair, believe it or not, you don't need a check for. Although, whenever you do it, you can't assault or shoot. So basically, what you do, the unit leader issues a crosshair order in the movement step before the unit moves. If it does, this any teams, including, see, it doesn't say anything about skill or anything. So you just basically issue the order. Unit rolling to cross difficult terrain check within 6 inches of the unit leader. Improves their crossing characteristic, reduces it by 1. So teams crossing cannot shoot or assault this turn. So basically what that means is, for our 113s, even though they're tracked, they have a cross of 3. Okay? So they'll have a cross of 3. Say I need to get everyone across there, and I'm worried about people bogging down. I issue the order. I can't shoot or assault. So I improve my cross or I lower it by 1. So now all them guys are crossing by 2s. So I would still have to roll for each one. So leader, oh, okay, bad example. I'm just rolling horrible dice today. So in this case, we rolled a 2, and he's able to cross over. Everyone has to be within 6 that he issued the order. Everybody else, okay, would have passed regardless. So then they all just, basically, they're able to cross over behind him within 6. So this is if you really need to get people through the woods. I know a lot of wheeled vehicles, their cross check's only a 4, believe it or not, including the Humvees and stuff. So it surprised a lot of people. And if you don't have a good shot or you're just trying to move through somewhere, you can use this order to improve your cross check by 1. Now, granted, in my example, I rolled a 1 still, but we redacted that so I could show the example. But that's literally how that works. A lot of heavier tanks, they all cross at 2. You can't go below a 2. A 1 always fails. So for doing crosses for big tanks really doesn't matter much. Now I guess you could do this for a night order, because I know if it's a nighttime fighting, your cross goes up by 1. So if you're a tank driving through trees, you're actually crossing 3. So I guess in theory you could do that to cross at your regular 2. But yeah, that's how that one works, guys. We have one more movement order really to go over today, and that's dealing with dig in. This is just infantry. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into that. We'll be right back. So the next ones will be a dig-in skill. This is mostly used by infantry, stuff like that. The unit leader can issue a dig-in order instead of moving the movement step. If it does, this and any of the unit's infantry teams may attempt to dig in instead of moving. Roll a dice. It's a skill check. If the roll is greater than or equal to the unit skill ranking, mark the selected unit infantry teams as being in foxholes. Otherwise, unit failed to dig in. Whether or not they succeed in digging foxholes, the selected teams cannot move but shoot with their moving rate of fire and cannot fire an artillery bombardment this turn. If they do not if they do not shoot or assault, they are gone to ground. Once they have dug foxholes, infantry teams have bulletproof cover, and they are also concealed until they move. This is pretty big for like dragons and stuff with the movement range fire of 0, because once you dig in, they won't be able to fire that turn. I'll go over more in the example here, but it's a pretty big one for infantry. I'll go over more of it in the video section. Okay, so the last thing we're going to go over is dig in skill, and this is mostly just for infantry. It's a skill check. So basically, even though we're in the woods and we're +1 to hit or hard to hit, whenever you dig into foxholes, besides giving you concealment if you stay out in the open, it also gives you bulletproof cover, which that forces your opponent to roll firepowers if you fail saves. So it makes infantry super hard to deal with. Now, there's actually a fairly large paragraph dealing with dug-in skill, and I guess I'll go over it here for you guys. The unit leader, I'm going to read this directly from the book, and again, all these are found on page 36 and 37. So, the unit leader can issue a dig-in order instead of moving in the movement step. If it does, this and any of the unit's infantry teams may attempt to dig in instead of moving. Okay, roll a dice. And this is your skill check. So for infantry, in this case, Americans are skill 4. Okay, if the score is greater than the unit's skill rating, mark this selected unit as being in foxholes, and then so you would end up rolling a dice. Okay, so in this case, I re-rolled it. I got a 4 this time. They would successfully dig in, and they'd be in foxholes. And you just mark them there with templates. Now, say if I rolled, obviously, a 3, but for camera's sake, we're saying I succeeded. Um, Whether or not you succeeded in digging foxholes, the selected teams cannot move, but they still may shoot with their moving rate of fire and cannot fire an artillery barrage this turn. If they do not shoot or assault, they are gone to ground. Once they have dug foxholes, infantry teams have bulletproof cover and are concealed until they move. So this is kind of important because you get a lot of benefits for being in bulletproof cover. So say you actually dig in, so already you're concealed, okay, you're in bulletproof cover. In this case, we'll say we're not in trees. This is just a rough patch of dirt or whatever. So already you're going to be 5 to hit with an additional bulletproof cover. Now giving you on the ground also helps, makes it harder for you to be hit or seen. The one thing you've noticed, none of these have any rerolls from your commanders. Whenever I was reading through the commander, he only gives you rerolls for rallies, morale checks, assaults, and counterattacks. So I might be missing something, but literally all these tests are just on you. Like you don't get any bonuses for having your company commander near you. Now I could be wrong on that. If I am, go ahead and comment and let me know maybe what section I'm missing it in. That's really it. So, but back to why you would even do this. Again, it makes you super hard to get rid of. Now they have to roll firepowers. So infantry saves a 3. So let's say, okay, I did roll a 1 failed. Okay. If they have a weapon with a firepower of 5 up, okay, in that case a 2, they failed. It's harder to get rid of the infantry inside of there. So digging in is kind of nice. One caveat, if you're in a building, you're automatically in bulletproof cover, so you don't need to dig in, say. Um, I have seen some house rules to where they don't allow you to dig in on roads. So if, other than a dirt road in the game, say you're on an asphalt road or in town with like buildings, some play groups will say that you can't like dig in through the concrete, which I get, you know what I mean? Like it's more realistic, but down where we are, we just play whatever. If you want to dig it on a road, by all means, go for it. I'm assuming maybe you have engineers with some C4 and you're blowing holes in the concrete or blowing holes in the asphalt. But that's just a little, small caveat. It's really not a hard rule. I believe it used to be a rule in Flames, but we're not really talking about Flame skills today. When it comes to Team Yankee, there's only those handful of skills that we have. So only 5 special movement order skill checks. And they're not really utilized too often. So hopefully you guys seeing these maybe kind of rough examples maybe will get your creative juices flowing, and maybe you will be more susceptible to try some of these orders out. Try them out in your games, especially Blitz and Shoot and Scoot a lot. Dig people use a lot of times. The Follow Me and the Cross here, even I might start using them more in videos just to see how well it does. Alright guys, this is the Guildmaster. Until next time, we'll talk to you. Go ahead and, I guess, keep your guys' powder dry.